After an earlier than expected return by Bruins winger Brad Marchand, it seems as though Charlie McAvoy is also ahead of schedule in his target date after undergoing offseason shoulder surgery. We're going to talk about McAvoy's status, update the Atlantic Division power rankings, and preview tonight's game against the Pittsburgh Penguins on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Today is Tuesday, November 1st, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your day all through October. I think it was the second highest download month in the history of the podcast, which is unreal. And I thank those who have already subscribed and encourage those of you who have not already to smash that subscribe button on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube so that you never miss a thing. You can find the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Locked NHL Bruins, and you can find me and my dad jokes, hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. Now, the Bruins had the weekend off following their fifth straight win, which took place in Columbus on Friday. They were back on the ice Monday at Warrior Ice Arena in preparation for a game tonight in Pittsburgh against the Penguins, a game that's on ESPN and doesn't start until 8 o'clock, in case you were wanting to make plans to watch tonight. The big story at practice was the full participation of Boston Bruins defenseman Charlie McAvoy, the Norris-level defenseman, skating in a regular contact jersey, and it appears as though he's pretty close to returning. Now, he was placed on long-term injured reserve, I believe on October 10th, and you have to miss at least 10 games or 24 days before returning. So the earliest he could return would be Saturday in Toronto against the Maple Leafs. He is going on the 3-game road trip to Pittsburgh, New York, and Toronto so that he can keep up with the guys and also continue practicing with them. And it's possible we could see him in the lineup as early as this Saturday. Head coach Jim Montgomery stating the obvious, saying he's easily one of the top defensemen in the league. He can beat people one-on-one. He can give and go. He can outskate people. He can out-physical people. So yeah, I'm starting to get excited now, said head coach Jim Montgomery, as we all are, about Charlie McAvoy's impending return. For his part, he said he's feeling good. Back to a normal jersey, and you go from obviously non-contact to contact. Practices are generally pretty respectful. No one's really hitting or bumping too much, so you won't know how the repaired shoulder will hold up until game action. That's why you want to take your time. But just to be in there, do some drills, have that incidental contact, just to be playing hockey and have the guys flying around him, it felt pretty good, of course. And altogether, McAvoy is ahead of schedule. His target return date was December 1st after undergoing a left shoulder arthroscopic stabilization procedure on June 3rd. He's ahead of that December 1st timeline. They have an internal timeline. They're hopeful that it will be before November 24th, was what Jim Montgomery said. But he has to check certain boxes as they continue to progress, and he's just starting that process now. Yesterday was the first day where he had a little bit of contact, but everybody knew to be kind of cautionary around him. Again, it's not expected that he'll play in any of these 3 games. He is eligible to play on Saturday. Perhaps he'll be back next Tuesday against the St. Louis Blues. Nevertheless, he's excited to hit the road, go on this road trip with the guys. It's important for him to be with them, to be back on the ice when they're practicing. And he's got some family in New York, so good timing to be able to go home and see that. You always feel isolated from the group when you're rehabbing from an injury. He did say guys were always checking in on him, which is pretty cool, asking how he was doing, which means a lot. And, of course, the Bruins have gone 8-1 to begin the season. The depth has been crazy, he said. You're getting production from everybody, and that's just so big for the whole group. But for individuals to feel that validation when you're producing and it's in winning efforts, it just builds that strong bonds, builds that culture, and it's an ideal start that the Bruins have had, and it's helped him not feel like he needs to rush back into the lineup. So great news there on the Charlie McAvoy front. Not as great with respect to David Krejci. He did skate before practice on Monday, and he will travel with the team, but he's ruled out tonight and most likely Thursday as well. So Pavel Zacha will remain on the second line, center between Taylor Hall and David Pastrnak. We're going to preview the Pittsburgh game later tonight, but it was revealed that Jim Montgomery leaning towards starting Linus Ullmark in Pittsburgh, and then he will give Jeremy Swayman the start Thursday in New York. Schedule, however, still yet to be determined in regards to the goaltender deployment. Coming up next, I'm going to update the Atlantic Division power rankings. But first, a quick word about SimpliSafe. I don't know about you, but home security, very important. I have a family of 3 boys, my wife and myself. We want to make sure that our house is safe and secure when we're home and when we're out of town. SimpliSafe is quite simply the best option out there, and they are right now giving you the best offer of the year. Locked On Bruins listeners can order the #1 rated SimpliSafe home security system for 50% off. SimpliSafe was named the best home security system of 2022 by U.S. News and World Report. It's the 3rd year in a row. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusively from SimpliSafe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real, so you can get priority police response. They have 24/7 professional monitoring that costs less than $1 a day, less than half the price of ADT's traditional professionally installed system. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system I recommend. Get 50% off any new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/LockedOnNHL today. It's their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplisafe.com/LockedOnNHL. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Thank you again for making Locked On Bruins part of your day every day. Now check out the Game to Game NHL podcast. Every moment, every top performance, every result, Locked On Game to Game covers it all from across the NHL with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NHL, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. So Tuesdays on the Locked On Bruins podcast are Atlantic Division Power Rankings Day, where we go through the 8 teams in the division and rank them accordingly. Quick spoiler alert, Boston Bruins, number 1 in the Atlantic Division. The rest, a little crazy at the moment. There's no team below 500 point percentage. And there's no team within 4 points of the Bruins or with a point percentage better than 667. Let's start at the bottom, shall we? And I'll be honest, I take a bit of delight in announcing that the number 8 team in the Atlantic right now, the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've played a division-high 10 games. They're 4-4-2 with a 500-point percentage, but don't let that fool you. That means they have 4 wins, 4 regulation losses, and 2 losses in either overtime or a shootout. So they're really 4-6. But they have 10 points. They also have a -3 goal differential, which is second worst in the division. Now, it's true that the Leafs won't stay at the bottom of the division all season long. Their underlying numbers fairly strong. They rank 10th in the NHL with a 51.55 shot attempt differential. 5-on-5 as well at 51.7. For whatever reason, they are stuck on a 31st ranked 5-on-5 shooting percentage of 6.01. Only, surprisingly, the Colorado Avalanche are further down. You expect Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, William Nylander will hit their stride. But right now, they're just not getting the scoring 5-on-5. That was something that really hindered the Boston Bruins this time last year, if you will recall as well. Now, the Ottawa Senators have a 4-4 record through 8 games for a 500-point percentage. They're 2 points back of the Leafs, but with 2 games in hand. And they have a +3 goal differential, so I'm giving them the upper hand over their Ontario rivals. In 6th, I'm going to put the Detroit Red Wings. They are 4-3-2. So they have, you know what? I might put the Red Wings in 7th and put the Senators a bit higher. Here's why. The Red Wings, 4-3-2. So they've won 4 games. They've lost 5 games. They have a division low -4 goal differential. And they were tuned by the Buffalo Sabres last night, 8-3. So Toronto 8th, Detroit 7th, Ottawa in 6th. They're 4-4 with a +3 goal differential. In the middle of the pack, at 4th and 5th, I'm putting the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Montreal Canadiens. They have identical 5-4 records, 556 point percentages, and even goal differentials at 0. Now, who has the better chance of having success this season based on the underlying numbers? Tampa Bay, a 50.71 shot attempt differential. Montreal is at 49.36. When it comes to expected goals for the Tampa Bay Lightning, 49.96. So they're off to a slow start. It happened last year. We all know they advanced to the Stanley Cup final. And let's be honest, if we're separating the good from the bad in this division, Tampa Bay will be on the positive side of the ledger. Both of these teams have won 2 in a row. And I expect some separation to be created here sooner than later. In third place, I'm putting the Florida Panthers. They're 5-3-1, 11 points, 611 point percentage, a +1 goal differential, and their underlying numbers very strong. In fact, they have the top expected goals differential in the division at 60.3, and their underlying numbers 60.3 in terms of shot attempt differential. Again, shot attempt differential, you look at 5-on-5. The Panthers, for example, have generated 431 shot attempts. They've only allowed 287. That's how you get that 60% goal shot attempt differential. Expected goals takes a look not only at shot attempts, but also the quality of the shots. If you're getting the majority of chances, inside the scoring area, in the slot, from the circles, etc., then chances are you're going to score more goals than the opposition. That's where expected goals comes from. Panthers, pretty high in that regard, and they will be getting Aaron Ekblad back soon. Anthony Duclair has yet to play this season, so they should be fine as well. The Buffalo Sabres, I'm putting in second this week. They're 6-3, 12 points, 667 point percentage, a +12 goal differential after beating Detroit 8-3 last night. Their underlying numbers, though, don't quite support sustained success. In fact, the Sabres right now, they're 11th with a 51.44 shot attempt differential. When it comes to expected goals, they are 49.65. They're getting some pretty good goaltending from Eric Comrie and Craig Anderson. They're scoring 5-on-5 at the moment. They have a second-ranked PDO of 1.032. And again, that is looking at shooting percentage plus save percentage. Generally, teams will even out at an even 1. And so you can expect the Sabres to regress a bit in terms of both save percentage and shooting percentage, and kind of come back down to earth a little bit. But for the moment, they're playing very, very well. Number 1 in the division, the conference, the league perhaps, the Boston Bruins. They're 8-1, 889 point percentage, a +18 goal differential, highest point percentage in the league, best goal differential in the league, and their underlying numbers are pretty encouraging as well. Shot attempt differential, they rank 7th, 52.81. Expected goals for, they're 5th. And looking at Boston's PDO, they are, a bit high, 1.029. Shooting percentage is second in the NHL, 5-on-5. Their save percentage, a bit more sustainable at 11th, 92.5. We can expect the Bruins to maybe come back down to earth, scoring 5-on-5, but their power play still has room to grow. And of course, Charlie McAvoy will only help in that regard. So we're going Boston, Buffalo, Florida, Tampa, Montreal, Ottawa, Detroit, and Toronto for this week's Atlantic Division Power Rankings. We're going to preview tonight's game against the Pittsburgh Penguins here in a moment. But I want to encourage you to check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. Next, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day on the Locked On Sports Today podcast. Available wherever you get podcasts. And thank you again for making Locked On Bruins part of your day every single day. Now, if we look over at the Metropolitan Division, we see the Pittsburgh Penguins right now 4-1 through 9 games, a 500 point percentage, 4 wins, 5 losses for 9 points. They do have a +3 goal differential, But they're coming into this one tonight on a 4-game losing streak. And the Bruins hopefully can take advantage of that and keep them down for the count. They recently went on a West Coast road trip, losing to the Edmonton Oilers and the Calgary Flames, then losing to the Vancouver Canucks and the Seattle Kraken. Those were both back-to-back situations, so it wasn't, the friendliest road trip in terms of scheduling either. They will play tonight against the Bruins and then travel tomorrow to play the Buffalo Sabres. Now, you always have to be mindful of their big three in Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Chris Letang. Crosby leading the team in scoring with 11 points through 9 games, 4 goals, 7 assists. Malkin with 4 goals, 4 assists through 9 games. Jake Gensel was out of the lineup recently, so that's part of the reason why the Penguins are struggling. Danton Heinen, our old friend, placed in the top 6, and he's got 3 goals, 3 assists through 9 games. In net, Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith. I would expect it would be Jarry in net as their number 1. He's got a .915 save percentage so far this season. And again, the Penguins back home. They are coming off a very tough road trip, so you can bet they'll be motivated to get back on the winning side of things tonight against the Boston Bruins, a team that's rested. They had the weekend off, practiced yesterday. So perhaps there could be a little bit of rust from the weekend, partying for Halloween. On the road, this is the beginning of a fairly tough stretch for the Bruins in terms of opposition. Penguins, Rangers, Leafs on the road this week. So, it's possible the Bruins could face a setback. They're not going to stay at an .889 success rate all season long. So it should be a good one. Always entertaining when the Bruins and Penguins play. It's great to watch Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Bergeron, Marchand, former line mates of Sidney Crosby in international play. So there's that relationship to watch there. Crosby, Bergeron in the face-off circle, going head-to-head. Always fascinating to watch. So I'm excited about this one. And don't forget, it's at 8 p.m. this evening on ESPN for those of you who are going to be tuning in. You can catch my tweeting about it at ENC McLaren, at Locked NHL Bruins. And thank you so much again for making this podcast part of your day. I hope you all had a great Halloween. We were out pretty early, had some decent success. Coffee Crisp seemed to be the candy bar of the year. Our 10-year-old had like 6 or 7 full-size Coffee Crisps, and then a bunch of mini ones as well. Unfortunately, I can't steal those because I have to eat gluten-free ones. So give me those caramels, give me those Aero bars, Sour Patch Kids. I'm really into these days as well. But he got a good pillowcase full, all organized this morning. And I'm sure I'll sneak into his room and grab some throughout the day. Can't believe it's November already. Subscribe so that you never miss a podcast, especially on the YouTube where there's live instant reaction to breaking news, games, and all that kind of fun stuff as well. So a great start to the season, my friends. I can't wait to see what November brings us, beginning tonight in Pittsburgh. And we'll talk to you tomorrow with a recap of tonight's game. And let's do a mailbag, shall we? So send in some questions that you may have for the podcast, and I'll be sure to answer them on tomorrow's show. Happy Tuesday, friends. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on Locked On Bruins, part of the Locked On Network, your favorite team every single day.